All right, Dalton, no more team previews as of right now. We're done with all 70 of them. Now that we did all of the team previews, we are going to rank our top 25 teams in the preseason heading into the 2024 college football season. We're only a couple weeks away, Dalton, from the start of the season. I cannot wait. So let's start off with our top 25 teams. And at number 25 is the West Virginia Mountaineers. They went 9-4 last year. They won the Duke's Mayo Bowl. They have an explosive offense with Garrett Green, Jaheim White, CJ Donaldson, some really good players in the secondary as well. I think West Virginia could surprise a lot of teams in the Big 12 once again, and that's why they're the number 25 team on this list.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of excitement about their offense, but we'll take it to the Big 10 at number 24 for a defensive team, and that's the Iowa Hawkeyes. Look, they find a way through their flaws every year to win 9-10 games, right? And they still, with Sebastian Castro and Jay Higgins and Xavier Nwampa and all those guys they have on their defense, still possibly a top 10 or even top 5 defense that's going to keep them in every game. Hopefully, Cade McNamara and Luke Lachey can come back healthy and allow them to score some points this season as opposed to what they did last year. But their defense alone is good enough to make them a top 25 team, and they'll still give Big Ten teams a lot of problems.
They absolutely will. And at number 23 is a team that's really good offensively, and that is the Kansas Jayhawks, who went 9-4 last year, won the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and don't really, they have the offensive talent, man, with Jalen Daniels hopefully healthy for an entire season. He's a really, really good quarterback. Devin Neal, one of the top running backs in the country, really good secondary at Kansas as well. Lance Leipold, man, is doing an excellent job rebuilding that program, and Kansas is definitely one of the top contenders in the Big 12 Conference right now.
Absolutely. And another one is a team that made the Big 12 title game last year and finished as the runner-up, and that's the Oklahoma State Cowboys at number 22. Look, you've got the reigning Doak Walker Award winner in Ollie Gordon. Your quarterback returns in Alan Bowman. Brennan Presley in the slot is a really good player, and they always find a way to put it together in Mike Gundy's defense. So the Oklahoma State Cowboys are still going to be in Big 12 contention, mainly behind Ollie Gordon there at running back.
Absolutely. And one new Big 10 team that we have at number 21 is the USC Trojans. Kind of a disappointing year last year, obviously with Caleb Williams as your quarterback, and you only went 8-5, and they won the Holiday Bowl. But Lincoln Riley always has an elite offense every single year. And I think Miller Moss at quarterback now, yes, it'll be a downgrade, of course, from Caleb Williams. But like I said, the worst quarterback Lincoln Riley's had is like Spencer Rattler, who's now an NFL quarterback as well, right? So I think USC is going to be really good offensively, and I think they really improved that defense in the transfer portal and in the offseason hiring D'Anton Lynn from UCLA. So defense should be improved, and you bring it back really some good offensive players as well, like Miller Moss, Jonah Monheim, Zachariah Branch. I think is going to have a huge sophomore year. USC is going to be really good offensively, as they always are, and hopefully the defense gets a little bit better. So USC checks in here at number 21.
And at number 20, you've got a team that USC is really glad they're not playing anymore, and that's Utah. New team in the Big 12 now. Right now, the betting favorite to win the Big 12. And the big thing is they get Cam Rising and Brant Keithy back, hopefully to jumpstart their offense. But Kyle Whittingham, it's always a well-coached outfit when he's out there leading the team. They added some pieces on offense and they can kind of retool and score some more points than they did last year. But they're always going to play fundamentally sound football. They've got one of the best home field advantages in college football.
They absolutely do. And another Big 12 team that's right behind them in the betting odds right now is the Kansas State Wildcats. Check in here at number 19. Won the Pop-Tarts Bowl last year, our favorite bowl game. Went 9-4 overall. They did lose some pieces offensively, like Will Howard at quarterback, but they're really excited about the sophomore quarterback they have in Avery Johnson. But Kansas State, man, I really like the rushing attack they have with DJ Giddens as well. And and Dylan Edwards transferring there, and a really good head coach, and Chris Kleiman is always going to have that team playing up to they can. And I think Kansas State is a top 20 team, and checking here at number 19.
Take a former Big 12 team going to the SEC at number 18, and that's the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, they've got some retooling to do, especially on offense. They lost their offensive coordinator. They've got a brand-new offensive line, but got a really talented quarterback in Jackson Arnold that they're hoping can lead them to the top of the SEC, and a good back seven of their defense led by Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman. They might be in for a transition kind of year with so much kind of running the SEC gauntlet and having to run through all the competition, but they're still really, really talented. If they can fix up this offensive line, they can make some noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And at number 17 is this team that made their first ACC title game last year. That is the Louisville Cardinals, going 10-4 overall. A great first year for Jeff Brom as head coach. And yeah, they lost some pieces on that team, but they did an excellent job in the transfer portal of making up for those losses. And I think Louisville is absolutely still one of the top teams in the ACC right now.
I agree with that. And another team that's hoping to still be a top team in the ACC is actually the team that won the conference last year, in the Florida State Seminoles. Look, they lost a ton of pieces to the NFL, right? But still have Mike Norvell as your head coach, and they're going to be coached really, really well. DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback coming in from Oregon State. And you still have some talent on that defense, and they're in a really talented secondary. Last year, there's a handful of guys that stayed. So they have to figure out some things in the trenches and at wide receiver, but they should still have enough talent to compete in the ACC.
Definitely. And starting off with the top 15 now, that is the Tennessee Volunteers. Went 9-4 last year, won the Citrus Bowl. I'm really excited about Nico Iamaleava as a new quarterback. I think he's going to be an upgrade over Joe Milton. And that offense is with Josh Heupel drawing it up, man, it's always going to be a high-flying offense. So James Pierce Jr., one of the best defensive players in the country. I have some questions outside of him on that defense, but I'm a big fan of that offense, big fan of James Pierce Jr. I think Tennessee is going to put up a lot of points next year. I'm excited to see what they can do.
I think you have a very similar team in the SEC next at number 14 in the LSU Tigers. Now, they have a new quarterback as well, although he's played some over the last few years, and that's Garrett Nussmeier replacing the Heisman winner, Jaden Daniels. But got some good weapons to throw to in C.J. Daniels and Kyron Lacey. And like you mentioned, they have a star on their defense as well, just like Tennessee, and that's Harold Perkins at linebacker. Got to figure out some things in their secondary, but offensively, with supreme pass protection, some weapons to throw to, and Garrett Nussmeier's got a really big arm. LSU, too, could put up a lot of points and cause a lot of problems for SEC defenses.
Now, kind of an opposite here at number 13, Dalton. That is the Clemson Tigers, who went 9-4 last year, but they are really good because of their defense, right? An absolutely stellar defense that should be the same once again, led by Peter Woods, true sophomore D tackle, who I think is going to be a breakout superstar as a sophomore. And that defense should be good enough to help them compete for an ACC title and a college football playoff spot. But really, the big question is, can Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator, and Cade Klubnik finally get it going offensively? They have a lot of potential. You know, Garrett Riley is one of the highest paid coordinators in the sport, and Cade Klubnik was a 5-star recruit a few years ago, but they really did not look great last year offensively, and they need to, because if they want to be a top ACC team, that offense has got to get a lot better.
You're right, and the quarterback spot is the reason that there's an ACC team actually one spot ahead of them, and that's the Miami Hurricanes. Look, have to admire what they went and did in the portal this year. You go and get Cam Ward at quarterback, Damian Martinez at running back, Sam Brown at receiver, a boatload of defensive linemen. That this could be one of the best defensive lines in the country. Miami looks like the most well-rounded team in the ACC heading into the season. They just have to go out there and execute and win the turnover battle to be able to do it.
Yeah, all in on Miami this year. And another team we're all in on, Dalton, is the Arizona Wildcats. I'm sure this is the highest you're going to see Arizona in any ranking, honestly, for preseason. But we are all in on them. Even with a new head coach, man, they have so many stars on it. Like maybe 3 or 4 potential first-round picks they have on that team. You got guys like Tetsuo McMillan, Takario Davis, Jonas Savaiinea. Noah Fafita is a really, really good quarterback as well. They really, with a relatively easy schedule too, I think Arizona, for both of us, is our pick to win the Big 12 conference this year.
Yeah, and another team in a similar situation that broke out last year at number 10 is the Missouri Tigers. And look, they lost some pieces on defense in the draft, but they are absolutely loaded on offense. They bring back Brady Cook. They bring back their top 5 receivers, and they lose Cody Schrader, but bring in Marcus Carroll from Georgia State. They're going to have a really, really good offense, and with a relatively easy schedule, Missouri's a playoff contender for sure.
Absolutely, and I'm going to go with my school here at number 9, Dalton. That is the Penn State Nittany Lions. Went 10-3 last year, lost the Peach Bowl. The defense is always going to be elite, even with a new D coordinator, with Manny Diaz leaving to take the Duke job. They have Tom Allen, the former Indiana head coach, as defensive coordinator now, and they have stars all along that defense. But now the big question is, can Drew Aller be fully unlocked with the new offensive coordinator and Andy Kolnicki coming in from Kansas? We're a big fan of Kolnicki, but outside of Aller, there are significant questions offensively in the receiving core, on that offensive line as well. But if they can answer those questions, if Kolnicki could do as well as he did at Kansas, Penn State could be a lot higher than number 9 right now, Dalton.
I agree, and we've got a team at number 8 with very similar questions, but one that's coming off a national championship, and that's the Michigan Wolverines, right? Still might have the best defense in the country with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Will Johnson and everything they have on that side of the ball. Their defense is going to keep them in every single game, every week. They just need to find answers at quarterback and at wide receiver. The run game will probably be fine still. They'll find a way to run the ball with Donovan Edwards, and then you have the best tight end in the nation in Colston Loveland. If they can figure out some greater depth in their passing game, Michigan could still be a threat to win the Big Ten.
They absolutely can. So they lost their head coach, and another school that lost their head coach is Alabama, checking in here at number 7. But they got a really good one in Kalen DeBoer, who we're going to actually put our head coach rankings. DeBoer is very high on the list, so we'll spoil it right there. So, yeah, you lose the greatest coach of all time, but DeBoer is basically as good of a hire as you could have hoped for Alabama. I still think with him as a brilliant offensive mind and with Jalen Milroe, who's got maybe the best physical tools of any quarterback in the country, that's very, very enticing. Now, they do have some questions to answer in that defense, in that receiving core a little bit too, but I think that partnership of DeBoer and Milroe could be an absolutely explosive one and could lead maybe to a Heisman Trophy for Jalen Milroe too.
Yeah, they're incredibly talented, and I'll tell you, we've got an incredibly talented team at number 6 here also, and that's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Look, honestly, Max, I think this is a top 3 defense in the country starting off. You've got Howard Cross, Riley Mills, Jack Kaiser, Ben Morrison, Xavier Watts. There's stars all over this defense. It looks like they just don't have any weaknesses, and for the second straight year, they bring in a star ACC quarterback to helm the offense, and Riley Leonard's really the X factor here, and coming off injuries last year, needs kind of a bounce-back season, but hopefully they've provided him with enough weapons on the outside like Chris Mitchell and Bo Collins, but this defense is going to keep them in and probably win them a lot of games, and if their offense catches up, they very well could be a playoff team this year in South Bend.
Absolutely. And at number 5 for us, Dalton, is the Texas Longhorns, who were finally back last year. After many years of saying they'll be back, they finally were last year. They went 12-2. They won their first Big 12 title, I believe, since 2009, and they made the college football playoff where they lost on literally the last play of the game against Washington. They lost a lot of weapons from last year's team. They did a great job in the portal of addressing that. Really good offensive line still. You still have Quinn Ewers, a top 5 quarterback in the country, leading you as well. Some questions defensively, but I still think that defense is better than some people might think. So Texas is still good enough to be a top 5 team in the country on our list.
Yep, and they've got a former Nick Saban assistant leading them, and we've got another one in Ole Miss on the Lane train, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss at number 4. Look, explosive offense, returning just about everything except for Quinshon Judkins, but Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, Juice Wells, Caden Prescorn on offense, and then defensively they hit the portal really, really hard. Guys like Walter Nolan or Prince Uman Mielen, if they can round themselves out in the trenches this year, which it looks like they did in the transfer portal, Ole Miss is a serious threat to make the playoff, and they're probably the biggest threat to Georgia to win the SEC.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And another former Nick Saban assistant, he spent 1 year as a grad assistant for under Nick Saban in 2015. That is Dan Lanning leading the Oregon Ducks here at number 3. Maybe the best offense in college football, man. Dylan Gabriel, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Loaded offensive line. The best receiving core in college football. A great running back room as well. And then Dan Lanning's a defensive guru, and you still have talent on that side of the ball too. So Oregon, offensively and defensively, are in really, really good position to challenge Ohio State as the best team in the Big Ten.
And that team you just mentioned comes in at number 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Look, they're just loaded with talent. You've got the best running back duo in the country. You've got Emeka Ibuka returning a receiver, and Jeremiah Smith coming in as possibly a true freshman alien out there as well. And then a defense that's just loaded with talent, right? You've got a great defensive line, arguably the best in the country. Denzel Burke and Lathan Ransom and those guys on the back end. Ohio State has just about everything. They just need to be sure that Will Howard or somebody is their man at quarterback to really make a title run. But they have way, way too much talent not to feel like they're the favorites in the Big Ten this year.
Absolutely. One of my, actually my pick to win the national title, but I think the team that you're going to pick to win the national title, Dalton, is here at number 1. That is the Georgia Bulldogs. And if they win the national title, that'd be their 3rd championship in 4 years. This team is humming right now. They only lost 1 game last year, and it was still a massive disappointment by their standards, honestly, which is just, it shows how good that program is right now. They have the best coach in the country in Kirby Smart, the best quarterback in the country in Carson Beck, and one of, if not the best roster in college football as well. It makes a lot of sense why Georgia is the favorite to win the national title this year, this upcoming season, which, again, would be their 3rd in 4 seasons. So that's an incredible run that Georgia's on. They start off as our number 1 team in college football heading into the 2024 season. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about our list and who should be higher, who should be lower, who should have been in this top 25. Let us know in the comments below.
Clear.
Sweet. Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 college football preview guide that you can find over at pff.com, featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator, where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you could do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description. Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout. Again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.